Chapter 6: Two Huge Fights. While Ali was banned from boxing, a new heavyweight champion arose. Smokin' Joe Frazier had one of the most powerful punches ever. He never seemed to mind getting hit either. Muhammad Ali had become world famous during his time away from the ring, but he remained controversial even after returning to boxing. Some fans still resented his choices, while others loved him even more for standing up for what he thought was right. Everyone agreed on one thing, however. They were all eager to see him fight Joe Frazier. After his time off, would Ali still be a great boxer? The match was scheduled for March 8, 1971, in Madison Square Garden in New York City. Every one of the more than 20,000 seats in the garden was sold out. 300 million people around the world watched the fight of the century on television. That was a bigger audience than had watched the first moon landing in 1969. The two boxers slugged it out for 15 punishing rounds. Ali danced, but perhaps not as quickly as before. Frazier battered Ali and even knocked him down. After the fight was over, the judges said Frazier had won. It was the first loss of Muhammad Ali's pro boxing career. Soon after, however, Ali won a different sort of fight. The U.S. Supreme Court heard his appeal and accepted his reasons for refusing the draft. They erased his conviction. He stood up for what he believed, and others came to believe the same thing. But he was still not the world heavyweight champion. In 1974, he got his revenge on Frazier, winning a 12-round decision. However, Frazier was not the champ by then. He had already lost the title to George Foreman. To become champion again, Ali would have to win the championship from Foreman. Meanwhile, millions in Africa loved Ali as a black Muslim champion. So in late 1974, Mobutu Sese Seko, the leader of the African nation of Zaire, offered Ali and Foreman $5 million each to have their heavyweight championship fight in his country. The two boxers accepted and headed to Zaire for a fight called the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali debuted a new poem for this fight. I have wrestled with an alligator. I have tussled with a whale. I have handcuffed lightning and put thunder in jail. Only last week I hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I made medicine sick. In Zaire, huge crowds followed Ali wherever he went. They would chant, Ali Beaumier, Ali Beaumier. That meant Ali, kill him. They wanted their hero to beat young George Foreman and become champ again. Ali was in Zaire for more than a month before the fight. He traveled the country and spoke to thousands of people. He told reporters traveling with him from America, I want to uplift my brothers sleeping on concrete floors, black people living on welfare, black people who can't eat, black people who have no future. I want to win back my title and help a lot of people. His words during this trip to Africa played a big part in cementing his role as a world celebrity. His actions in the ring made him a boxing legend again. Howard Cosell. At ringside for the fight in Zaire was a man who was, at the time, almost as famous in America as Ali. ABC sports announcer Howard Cosell had a distinctive voice. He was loud, he used big words, and he was very sure of himself. Cosell was both loved and hated. He was once voted as the favorite and the least favorite TV sports voice in the country in the same year. As a TV announcer, Cosell often described boxing matches, including many of Ali's biggest fights. His huge ego and personality were a match for Ali's. Their interviews were always entertaining. Cosell tried to challenge Ali, while Ali made fun of the broadcaster's hair or his particular way of speaking. Cosell announced boxing matches for many years, had several sports interview shows, and was part of ABC's Monday Night Football from 1970 to 1984. His most famous saying was, "I tell it like it is." In boxing history, only a few men had ever won back a championship title they had lost. On October 30th, 1974, Muhammad Ali did. Some reporters say that more than 1 billion people watched the Rumble in the Jungle. Foreman was younger, bigger, and stronger than Ali. Most people thought Ali would lose the fight. To take on Foreman, Ali came up with a plan he called rope-a-dope. As soon as the fight began, he let Foreman hit him again and again while Ali leaned back against the ropes. But the blows landed mostly on Ali's arms. They hurt, but they didn't slow Ali down. Eventually, Foreman tired in the African heat of the outdoor soccer arena where the match was held, and Ali pounced. In the eighth round, he stunned Foreman with a huge right-handed blow. The champion was out, and Ali was the king of the world again. Chapter 7: Thrilla in Manila. By the mid 1970s, Muhammad Ali was perhaps the most famous person in the world. More than anything, fans wanted to see a third fight between Ali and Joe Frazier. On October 1st, 1975, the two veteran fighters met in the capital of the Philippines. The event was called the Thrilla in Manila. Ali and Frazier knew each other very well. They battled toe to toe for round after round. Each man gave and received awful shots to the head and body. Neither gave in until finally Frazier had had enough. He could not come out to fight the 15th round. Ali won and remained champion, but he had taken a terrible pounding. In the dressing room afterward, he said, "It was the closest thing to dying." Some people hoped that Ali would stop fighting after the Manila bout. He had taken a lot of punishment for many years, but Ali kept boxing. He won 6 more fights, but he was getting hit more and more. He was not as quick as he had once been and could not avoid all the punches. Doctors and others worried that he would be permanently injured. In February 1978, Ali lost his title again. In one of the biggest boxing upsets ever, 24-year-old Leon Spinks beat Ali in Las Vegas. But the old champion had one more comeback in him. Later that year, Ali, then almost 37 years old, won the title back from Spinks. He became the first person ever to win the heavyweight title 3 times. By this time, Ali had divorced Kalia and married Veronica Porsche, whom he had met in 1975. He had 2 more children with Veronica, daughters Hannah and Layla. Ali also had 2 other daughters, Maya and Kalia, with women who were not his wives. With his expanding family, Ali finally began to see that it was time to stop fighting. He retired in 1979, but he came back to fight a pair of embarrassing losses. He was beaten easily by fighters he would have defeated in his prime. He was fighting just to make money, not to earn a title. During this time, he continued to move away from the separatist views of the old Nation of Islam. He came to follow simply Islam itself. In 1981, he retired from boxing for good. In 1984, Ali faced a new and more difficult battle far from the ring. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which affects the central nervous system. His brain was not making the right connections to some of his muscles anymore, and this affected his ability to move properly. He trembled and had trouble speaking and walking. Over time, his face became frozen or without expression. Layla Ali, boxer. Layla Ali followed her father's path to the boxing ring, becoming one of the most successful female fighters ever. In 1999, she had her first fight and won by knockout. She would go on to win 24 professional fights, 21 of them by knocking out her opponent. Layla captured the super middleweight world championship. Though her father did not support her boxing career at first, he later became very proud of her accomplishments. Layla retired from boxing in 2007. That same year, she appeared on TV's Dancing with the Stars and made the finals. She has appeared as a spokesperson for fitness and beauty products, but is still mostly known for her success in the boxing ring. Many doctors felt that being hit in the head so many times during his long boxing career had caused his Parkinson's disease. Ali did not want people's pity. Though no longer the same man, he knew that his fame could still make a difference in the world. He wanted to help other people and spread a message of peace. Sick or not, Muhammad Ali still had fight in him.